Hello, I'm Theolyn. This is episode 2 of my Bridge of Stars series. I do hope you will subscribe and also press the bell so that you get notified when there's another edition. And if you follow the first episode, you'll know that I'm going to work each day with some of my own angel script cards, but also call on other materials, perhaps folk stories, perhaps mythology, perhaps other people's books where they collect wise sayings that can help us in this time of troubled waters. We're creating a bridge over the troubled waters, a bridge of stars. So I mentioned yesterday that my own book and pack of cards, deck of cards, the angel script will be quite a good support for us during this time, and that every day I'm going to look at one of the cards. So today's card, I found a special little thing to stand it on so it stands up a bit higher. I'll put it there for you. Today's card is called Wisdom, and it looks very much like a Jewish candle holder. Mostly Jewish candlesticks are either 7 lights or 9 lights. This one only has 5. So we can take it out of its Jewish context and just see it as a light holding apparatus. And each of the orbs of light could be regarded as stars, or they can be regarded as containers of wisdom. This is what the card is called. It's called Wisdom. So I'm going to read you just a little tiny extract from the channeled message, which originally came to me in the 90s. Wisdom sits in the recess of the heart. Wisdom is a treasure chest which overflows with jewels. It cannot be accumulated and kept. It should be honoured as our birthright. Sometimes the candles are lit, the altar is tended. Sometimes the shadows are unchecked and wisdom resides unnoticed. Wisdom comes with us as a perpetual resource, but often we put it in a cupboard and struggle on our path without assistance. So that seems to me quite a good starting place, because we, in this time of difficulty and trouble, we are definitely wanting to collaborate as humans. We want to collect together our heartfelt love and affection for our fellow humans and help them as much as possible. And this pandemic, is actually bringing out that in enormous ways, which are quite overwhelming sometimes and bring out emotions in people that normally, under everyday circumstances, we tend to keep under check. The fact that we actually do want to love and serve our fellow human beings. But what we need to remind ourselves of is that we are not alone. We do need to help each other, and we should not indulge in some kind of thinking that some other force will always be there to just catch us if we make mistakes. We must rectify our own mistakes. But on the other hand, in the darkness, there are always some lights, and those lights are not always provided just by other human beings, although other human beings may act as the messengers and the carriers of those lights. So that leads me to talk about a particular story, a particular fairy story. If you've taken the time to watch my 4 classes, How to Bring Real Magic into Your Life, which are in the YouTube channel, you may have noticed already that I talk about a favourite cartoon of mine in which there's a lady standing on a doorstep looking in her bag for her keys. And the saying with it goes that Proverbs keep you patiently waiting on the doorstep, but fairy tales will give you the key. And it is the case, and I think so many modern psychologists and people who follow astrological wisdom and so forth will always say the stories and the mythology that are in the human library for generations, they tell us something about the human condition, and they tell us how to cope when things are problematic. So the story I wanted to mention today is a story called Baba Yaga. This is a very female story. Over recent years, there have been lots of chat about the hero's journey, and it's obviously quite a masculine story about the man who goes out to quest for the golden fleece or the Holy Grail, or so he's on a quest to get something and bring it back, usually for the benefit of his community. But the heroine's journey, if you like, has a slightly different flavour to it. The heroine descends into the darkness and she has to wait and be patient with it. And in the story of Baba Yaga, we have one of those stories because the young woman in it, Vasilisa the Beautiful, is sent by her wicked stepsisters into the woods to get a light, and she has to go to meet the old crone, Baba Yaga, who's a terrifying figure, right? So, and by the way, you can see Vasilisa is not unlike Cinderella. She's in a family where she's been demoted because the parent has remarried, and so there are stepsisters involved. So Vasilisa has to go through the forest, and she meets different characters in the forest. Horsemen of the dawn, horsemen of the midday sun, horsemen of the dusk of the darkness, and it gradually gets darker as she goes through the woods. And then she meets the old crone who lives in a house made of chicken bones. It stands on chicken legs, and there are skulls hanging around. She is not a nice character, Baba Yaga, but she is a very, very great teacher. And when Vasilisa arrives at her door, she timorously says, "I've come to get the light. My sisters have sent me for the light." And the old crone gives her a task. No, she gives her actually lots of tasks, lots of impossible tasks. And they're all quite domesticated, like sorting the corn and so forth. And she said, "You've got to do these before the dawn comes again. Otherwise, that's it. You'll be my roast dinner." So Baba Yaga goes off and Vasilisa is left. But the beautiful thing in Vasilisa's story is that her real mother, who has died, had given her a little dolly, a little tiny dolly figure, and she had that in her pocket of her pinafore. And it is the magic of the dolly that carries the mother's love, which allows these impossible tasks to happen in a kind of magic way overnight. And so when Baba Yaga returns in the morning, everything is done. And Baba Yaga is taken aback by this, but Vasilisa is given the light. And she's given it because she has made the journey into the darkness. And she's met and faced up to the worst possible character that the fairy tale storytellers can offer us. The darkest place in the wood and the darkest character surrounded by skulls. And those are the kind of characters that we are meeting now. We are facing up to death in a big way. And we go into it and we come through it by allowing ourselves to know that there is some higher power, and the higher power is love. Love is stronger than death. That is what we are told in a biblical text, but it's a universal saying. Love is stronger than death. So that's the story of Baba Yaga, and I bring it up because there are very many people talking about how the human collective needs to move together, to come together, to do things together. But I think we also need to recognise that there is something over and above us as individual or even national groups that is potential for guidance, for seeing the light as we go across the bridge, the stars above our heads. So if you want to see me or hear me reading that Baba Yaga poem that I wrote based on that story, you can click a link below. And I'm going to close by looking in the Bridge of Stars book, and the poem that I came across today in here is by Emily Dickinson, and it's called Experience. And I thought it was very appropriate for Bridge of Stars. I stepped from plank to plank, a slow and cautious way. The stars about my head I felt, about my feet the sea. I knew not but the next would be my final inch. This gave me that precarious gait some call experience. So what Dickinson is saying in that is that she is cautiously moving through life, plank by plank, slowly and carefully. The stars are above her head. The sea is below. The sea is below our bridge. And are we afeared? Are we frightened that we might actually drown in this sea? So she says we walk cautiously, but it gives us a precarious gait. We might be uneven in the way that we walk. But because of that, we have experiences, and we learn by the experiences. Many blessings, and I'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ping the bell. Oh, and please share with your friends. Goodbye.